Yes, a very good evening to you all. So let's start the session now. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome you all to the fourth session of the Project Acquiry with the theme of Mastery to Unshackle the Hidden Self-Creator session series hosted by the Leo Club of Sabra University of Sri Lanka with the purpose of improving and enhancing the 21st century skills among the club members, preparing them for the working environment. So far, we have successfully conducted 3 sessions to develop various skills of the members under this continuous project. And the fourth session today is the arts of public speaking. Someone who is well educated and talented will be taking part with us today to tell you and teach you about this. It's Miss Yashodhara Hemachandra, Master of Science in Management at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, lecturer in Hospitality and Tourism Management, Head of Academics at Kensley Graduate School, and also she is the President of the Marketers Toastmasters Club. Ma'am, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the session, and we are grateful to be able to be enlightened with your expertise, your knowledge, and talent in every way possible. So without further delay, let me hand over this session to you, ma'am, Ms. Yashodhara, to share her valuable thoughts and ideas with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Afra. And I think I'm meeting some familiar faces, including Afra as well, I guess. Yes. So let me share my screen first. Please confirm me if you can see it and audible.
Yes, ma'am. We can see the screen as well as you're audible.
Okay, so it would be better if you can spotlight me as well.
Sure.
Thank you so much. So good evening, Leos, I would say. How are you doing tonight? It's so good to be back to see some familiar faces. I'm not sure if I have met all of you, but it's a great privilege and a great honor for me to again do kind of a session for Sabra University Sri Lanka, and especially this Leo Club of Sabra University of Sri Lanka, because when I heard the purpose of your project, I felt so glad that I could be a part of this, because Leo Club is something that we all know. But when it comes to the undergraduates, having this kind of purposes are really meaningful. And this is something that will definitely help you in your future as well. And with that, thanking you and having kind of introduction about myself, let's move to today's session. Definitely, I'm not going to teach something you all. This is not going to be another academic lecture for you all, as I always say. I'm here to share some experiences that I have gathered during the past few years. And because as Toastmasters, what we really believe is that it is essential to share the knowledge and the experiences that we gather with the others, especially the younger generation, so that they also can, expose or get exposed or get something from out of ourselves and make their, the lives so beautiful and what you say, wonderful. Now, when it comes to the art of public speaking, so is there actually an art for public speaking? So this is my question. Do you have any answers for that? Public speaking, why this is so much important and why people are talking about public speaking this much? Because when we compare the time, maybe before like 10 years or 20 years back, I don't think this kind of a buzz about the public speaking was there in those times, because definitely today, when it comes to especially the corporate world, the people or the employers are talking about that if an employee needs to be kind of a skillful, or what do you say, an eligible or a good fit for a job, he or she must have good communication skills. he or she must have good confidence, kind of all these things. I mean, maybe the purpose of doing this project for you all as well is to encourage your colleagues to kind of improve themselves and prepare themselves for the world of work. Now, with that importance, when we are talking about the art of public speaking, because this is not something that we can just grab within one day, overnight, likewise. This is a process that you need to improve day by day, a minute by minute. Now, if I take my own self, let me start with my personal story, because I think I enrolled in, I got to the university maybe, in 2013. That means exactly 10 years back. And when I went to the university, when I was given the very first presentation to do, I did not have much of confidence. To be honest, I did not have any kind of understanding about how to do a presentation. Now, doing an academic presentation is also a type of public speaking. So just keep the other things apart. If you do not know how to do even your academic presentation in a way where the audience is going to be interacted with you, where the audience is going to understand your message, so there's nothing left to talk. This is why it is very important for you all to know or to improve the art of public speaking. Now let's move one by one. Now, when we are talking about the public speaking, there can be so many definitions, there can be so many perceptions, there can be so many views of people. But whatever it comes, as humans, this is something that we do in a daily basis. I mean, as social beings, we cannot stop talking, isn't it? We always meet our friends, we always meet our maybe work friends, your club colleagues, all these people. When you go to a lecture, you are meeting your lecturers. When you go to maybe a training or maybe a field visit, you are meeting people outside of your university likewise. So meeting public is not something very uncommon for us. We do this on a daily basis. But when it comes to public speaking, this is something that we need to do with a purpose. Now, if you look at this small 12 years or 13 years girl who is now acting, a climate activist who is so popular in the whole world. We call her as Greta Thunberg, right? So she speaks for a reason. She speaks to the world for a reason. What is her reason? What is the purpose of her speaking? Now, how did she become so much popular, and how her perception or her view got so much of recognition throughout the world? Because she was able to bring her message to the correct audience in the correct way, where the audience is understanding that. Now, with her speech, what she's trying to do is she's trying to change the world. She's saying that, climate change is something serious. You need to take this serious. Have you seen she speaks very aggressively? So there is a way of speaking style in her speeches. Well, when you come to Martin Luther King Jr., I mean, kind of, the whole world is worshipping this person, especially the Black people, because when the Black people did not have a purpose in their lives, this man came to the stage, and what was his purpose is that, give kind of a hope for the Black people. He motivated the Black people. He gave a purpose to the Black people. And because of that, the whole world, not only the Black people, but even the white people changed. Now, can you see how much strong can your words be? Not just only the words, but the way you are presenting those words to the world. If you come to Dhananjay de Silva, a man who has taken or brought a tremendous pride to this country, this small island, even though we are so desperated. We say that, Sri Lanka is going nowhere, we don't have any future. I mean, after all, this is our country. This is where we were born, and we have so many talented people. I'm sure. Now, as Leos, what is your purpose? To do something good for the society, isn't it? To do something good for this country. So this person, how did he did his part to the country is that by bringing the pride of as being the world champion speaker in a platform like Toastmasters. So his speaking style, or what is his purpose of speaking, is that he wants to go to the stage and influence people, inspire people, and obviously his own personal growth as well. So when it comes to public speaking, what we can say is that public speaking, definitely when we are talking, what we're trying to do is, so there are two parties, there is a listener, there is a speaker. So the speaker is trying to give a message to the listener. So this is the common, or what we in definition says as the communication process. When it comes to public speaking, what is the significance? Because the main purpose of public speaking is to effectively communicate a message to the audience. And what else? To engage with the audience, to connect with them, and achieve the desired outcome. Now, today I'm standing here doing all these things. I'm not sure if you are listening to me. Maybe you're having your dinner, maybe you are sleeping, maybe you're just going through the social media as usual. But my purpose is definitely to at least give something for you all, and at least to inspire about public speaking, and just try to do something to improve your communication skills. So after all, when it comes to public speaking, it's not all about passing a message to the audience. I'm not here standing just to say that, okay, public speaking is good, you should do it. This is a process that you should improve. Definitely not. I just want to give it, or I just want to pass this message in a way that you are at least 10% of this audience is, grabbing it as an important thing. That is my desired outcome. So when it comes to the public speaking, the purpose is, passing this message where the audience is understanding these things. Can I get a confirmation to see if I'm audible and visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There are no cliches, right? Okay, cool. Right. Thank you so much. Sorry if I ask you this time to time, because my laptop today is giving so much of entertainment to me. All right. So now we're told that public speaking is there to, just to pass a message in a kind of a way that the audience is grabbing it, and, where the audience is interacting with the speaker. Now, when it comes to understanding the importance of public speaking, now as Leos, you are trying to do something good for this society. So your purpose or your objective should be communicated to the society. Okay, we are doing this project to benefit these people. We are doing this project to do something good for these people or this village or whatever the thing. If the people who are listening to you are not understanding the message that you are going to trying to give, what happens at the end is they will say, okay, these bunch of undergraduates. Anyways, in Sri Lanka there is a very bad perception about undergraduates, right? So being undergraduates, we know how it hurt. So the thing is, the society is going to look at your work in kind of a different way. I'm not saying 100% people, but at least there will be some kind of a portion that will not look at your work in a good way. So this is the bitter truth. This is the reality. But if you can pass this message in a way where they truly understand it, that is something that you can do to overcome those perceptions. So that by that way, you can convince that at least, let's say 10% of people know we are doing something good for the society. This is why, as leaders, you need to improve your public speaking. I say you are leaders in this society as Leos, because you are leading a way, you are leading a pathway to do something good for the society. That is why I call you as leaders. So as leaders, definitely you need to improve your public speaking. So if you improve your public speaking, what can you obtain? So what are the benefits? So the very first thing that you need to understand is communication is the key. Key to what? Which door? Not a single door. This is the key to many, many doors. So if you have the proper communication skills, the doors will be open for you. If you go to an interview and perform well, even an interview we can take as public speaking, because you have a public, right? Maybe a panel of recruitment members. So if you can expose yourself, if you can present yourself where the panel is going to be so convinced, oh my God, this is the good fit, then that means you have communicated about yourself properly to the panel. So whatever thing you do, maybe you're going to ask a girl to go out on a date with you, right? I'm not saying that's going to be public, but if you can communicate this properly, only the girl is going to be convinced. Or maybe you're trying to convince something to your parents. If you are not communicating that well, definitely we know the consequences. Just like that, when it comes to addressing a larger gathering, if you want to convey your message properly, or if you want to achieve the purpose, definitely the communication is the key. So there's no, I mean, when you're doing projects, maybe you are finding sponsorships, you have collected good money, you have designed the project so well, you have worked so hard. But if you are not communicating this properly to the other people, they're not going to understand the value of it. Maybe there can be some people who are getting the values or the benefits out of it. But if you want to continue these projects, you need to communicate, okay, this is what we did and this is what we achieved. And also, I mean, definitely there should be an executive committee in your club. So if you're president, or if you're, I don't know, I'm not quite familiar with the Leos, but if the executive committee is not communicating the proper message to the other members, will they support you? Definitely not. So no matter how beautiful president you have, no matter how strong is your the second person or the first person or whatever, if they are not communicating properly among the executive members and with the other members and with the university itself, you're not going to achieve your purpose. So understand, communication is the key to everything. This can be written communication, this can be verbal communication, but remember, as a club, if since you're doing the social work, definitely your verbal communication is going to be very, very important. And the second thing is, definitely we know for our career advancement, we need to have public speaking. This is something very personal to me. So recently I changed my job. People had a lot of kind of, saying that, you're taking a huge risk, kind of that. But I was like, no, because I got that job thanks to my, kind of the way that I conducted myself through last 2 years, especially as a Toastmaster, especially as a public speaker. I know for a reason I got this new job thanks to that. So definitely in my personal life, I can say my career got advanced because of public speaking. So I'm a testimony for that. So for you also, if you are looking for career advancement, I'm sure you're going to start your careers very soon. So when you are going to your career, maybe just finding your first job, you can make it happen in your dream company if you are a person who can, expose, or if you're a person who can present yourself in a very effective way as a public speaker. And the third one is leadership essential. Like I mentioned, for a leader, public speaking is an essential. We see that most of the politicians today, when they get onto the stage, what they are talking about, sometimes their content is not clear. The way that they are speaking is definitely not acceptable. I'm not talking about politics, but just take those examples. But there are some leaders, if you take in Sri Lankan, both Sri Lankan and international context, where they were really kind of, I would say, very good public speakers, because when the leaders are very good public speakers, it is easy for them to convince the people, to motivate the people, to aspire the people. So that should be happened. When you are working as a leader, you should show that you are a great example. You should give, again, I'm telling you, you should give your message very clearly to the people who are listening to you. Otherwise, you cannot continue your work. So I'm also representing a club. I am also a president of a club. So I have understood how much it is important for me to communicate, especially among my executive committee members, because we all know, right, when you're working as people are different. So when we are working with different people from different backgrounds, it's a big challenge. This is where you need to develop your leadership skills. To develop your leadership skills, communication is the backup. Communication is the backbone of any club or a society. I think you will agree with me on that. So if you want to become a good, convincing, motivational leader, definitely you need to improve your public speaking and your personal growth. As I mentioned before also, if you want to become a person, people will look up to you. If the people are looking up to you and say, okay, that's a wonderful personality, see how she or he is talking, very decent, we know where to talk, we know we are not to talk, and we know what content to talk, and we know how we should, the style of talking. So this is what we learn when we are improving our public speaking. So if you want to stand among the others as like a diamond in the sky, right? So if you want to stand among the others as a unique personality, your public speaking is going to definitely help you for that and for the networking. So as social creatures, I again tell you, I mean, I don't have to tell you about networking, because Leos, of course, it's all about networking, isn't it? So when it comes to networking, even if you're an introvert or an extrovert or whatever the person, especially if you're an introvert, you may sometimes feel like, I don't have confidence to talk. I don't know if that person is going to like me. I don't know if that person will criticize me. Doesn't matter. What we do is we speak, right? We know what to speak. So in that case, even the people who do not like us at the first impression are going to like us after some time, because you are a good public speaker. And the next thing is influence and persuasion. I'm pretty sure this is very important for your club, for any Leo, because, influencing and persuading is our kind of, the major thing that we do. We set the path for the others. We do something and show the others, okay, this is what we should do for the society. Follow us, influence them, and persuade them. So to do that properly, if you want to have kind of people who follows you, so definitely your public speaking skills have to be improved. So these are the importances of having publics or improving your public speaking. So if you want to become a good public speaker, you need to have some essential elements. Now, these are the things that now, by doing one presentation, by listening to one session, you're not going to learn all these things. The thing is, like I mentioned before, this is a continuous process. I started my Toastmasters career or Toastmasters, as a Toastmaster before 2 years when I didn't have 2020, at the end of 2020, where I had nothing to do because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I randomly joined with a club, and I was very curious to know what was happening in this platform. And that actually inspired me. Okay, so many things are there in Toastmasters, likewise. So that is where my public speaking career started. And I identified something inside me that I never knew it was existing, because I was definitely not a very outgoing person before that. And in my school also, I was not a good performer. In my university also, I did my own things, and I didn't give a damn about what was happening. I barely participated for, social events and stuff. I barely spoke at university stages. I have never got the chance, to be honest. But when I joined with Toastmasters, I identified, okay, this is something inside me. This is a talent that I have not identified, and I never knew that it was existing in myself. So somewhere you have to start. That's what I want to tell you. So when you start, there are a few elements that you need to improve. So if you want to become a good public speaker, when you are doing a presentation, maybe an academic presentation, maybe a work presentation, or maybe you are addressing your club members or the executive committee, or maybe you are, doing kind of these kind of sessions, or whatever the thing, there are certain elements that you need to be clear about. You need to understand, and you need to be attentive about. The first thing is, you need to be a confident person. Now, have you ever seen public speakers? I mean, good public speakers, even not myself, right? So if you have seen good public speakers, maybe politicians, maybe founders of big organizations, maybe, Miss Sri Lanka, people like that, even those who are participating for the pageants. So have you seen these people any one of them, have you noticed, like, okay, this person is not confident? Likewise, I don't think so. Because if you're a good public speaker, the very first thing, or the very first element that you need to improve is your confidence. Confidence is what? Api kena Atmavishwasya. Now, maybe today I'm addressing some strangers. Even though I have seen few faces before, I definitely have not met them. I just, I have kind of a small memory of, okay, this person was there at the previous session also, but still, we have not met physically, and you are total strangers to me. Now, in the virtual platform, you can say, okay, it means you are not seeing us, so you can speak. Why don't you, right? But if you go to especially a physical environment, if you're addressing, let's say 100 people, 1,000 people, likewise, even if you go to your executive meeting and address the executive committee members, there can be a moment that you feel like, okay, I'm nervous. Can I speak? Where is my confidence? Likewise. So if you want to become a good public speaker, if you continue this process, your confidence is also eventually improving. 2 years back, I had zero confidence to speak in front of people. I was a lecturer back then as well. I had the experience of, talking to the students. But when I go to some strangers, when I see some strange faces, I get stuck because I did not have the confidence. Today, I have improved my confidence. And that is because why? Because I got all the opportunities as much as possible, and I talked and I practiced. So now when I come here and talk, of course, at the beginning, there are butterflies flying in my stomach. That's very usual for any public speaker. I'm sure for the world champion also, it is the same. But the thing is, when you get familiar with the audience, your confidence improves. So is it only for the presentations? Is it only when you're speaking to a public? Definitely not. For your personal life also, wherever you go, trust me, you get the confidence to go to a restaurant and eat by your own self. අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඒක තියෙනවා රෙස්ටෝරන්ට් එකට ගිහලා තනියෙන් කන්න නිකන් ලැජ්ජයි වගේ. But to be honest, now I have the guts because I have improved my confidence. I'm not saying that when you do public speaking, you can go to a restaurant and eat alone. No, not that. But you have the confidence to do anything, that maybe you were afraid of doing before. And the second thing is you need to have clarity. This is very important for members in a club. When you're speaking, you need to be clear about what you're talking, right? If you're talking bullshit, sorry, I'm using that word, but if you're talking nonsense, if your speech doesn't have a purpose, the audience is not going to like you. Now, like today, I'm talking about the art of public speaking. So I have a purpose to inspire you, to motivate you, to do some kind of, to improve the public speaking. So that is, I need to convince that to you. So I need to be very clear in the message that I'm giving. I need to be really clear about all the points that I'm talking about. I have to be very responsible for each and every word I have put in these slides. So you have to be really clear. The clarity is very important for a public speaker. The next thing is the third one, control. This is very important. Have you seen these politicians talk for hours and hours? Sometimes they start from somewhere and they end somewhere, and the body part, I don't know what they're talking about. We actually do not know where it started. It's like, our mega teledramas. We don't remember when it started. We don't remember what happened at the middle, and suddenly it's finishing and we don't know what exactly happened. So that is not something good. When you're speaking, you need to control. You need to have some controls. Maybe when you're using some words, maybe when you're talking about perceptions, maybe when you're talking about beliefs and thoughts of people, especially in a club, we know people are coming from different backgrounds. People are having different problems. So you can't say as a president, come here and say, okay, everyone should come at 5 o'clock to do this project. If you do not come, you're finished. Can we do that? Definitely not. So members may not be, cooperating to you. Even doing this project itself may have been a challenge for you. The designs didn't come on time. The person who was supposed to start the Zoom session was not, on time, punctual. Likewise, these things can happen. But the thing is, when you are addressing those, maybe as the president, you're coming back and giving the feedback to the members saying, okay, this project, We were very successful, that is true, but there were things that we could have improved more. So let's do it next time. This is the control that you should have. You should have a control about what you're talking, control about the depth of your speech, the presentation, or the facts that you are talking. So that is very important. Fourth one, connection. Connection with whom? Connection with the audience. Now, in a virtual platform, it's very difficult to have this connection. If I was in a physical environment, seeing your beautiful faces, this could have been more entertaining for me as well as for you. And I'm sure the learning part is definitely going to increase if you were in a physical environment. But the thing is, in virtual platforms, it's a bit challenging, but still we should try. So connecting with the audience is very, very important. How can we connect with the audience? So there are certain ways that you can apply. I will give some tips to connect with the audience, but always first, the very first thing that you need to know is you have to recognize, you have to identify your audience. What kind of people are they? What are their beliefs? What are their backgrounds? Now, before coming here, I talked to the person who contacted me for this session and asked, what kind of people are they, right? So I should have done it, but I didn't do that completely. I just went through Google and I just went to your Facebook page and, did kind of background checking. So identifying the audience is very much important if you're a public speaker, because if you do not know your audience, definitely you don't know what they are thinking of you. I mean, it's very difficult to predict what the other people are thinking about ourselves, but there is at least some kind of portion that we can recognize. So always better be prepared, and prepared in the sense, the very first thing that you need to understand is what kind of audience you have. The next thing is the conviction, which is very, very important. As a speaker, you need to have a very good confidence about what you are talking. And of course, you should thoroughly believe on what you are talking. And you should have kind of a very good, have a belief of, kind of, okay, what I'm talking today is going to definitely affect on people. So this is where the preparedness is very critical. So if you do not have conviction, if the speaker comes here and he is also like, okay, I think this may be like this, I think the club will perform like this. If your president comes and talks like that, can the other members truly believe him? Definitely not. So this is the same thing as public speakers. Since it is very important for the leadership as well, you have to have a conviction about what you're talking. Otherwise, the people who are listening to you are not going to believe in you. So the next thing is what you need to do. And we identified the key elements as public speakers that we need to identify. The next thing is the preparation part. Before the speech, before the presentation, even if you make 1 to 2 minute speech in front of your club members, you need to be prepared. You need to practice, because otherwise you come to the stage and you just go blank and you say something and the audience is like, what the hell this person is talking about. Even within 1 to 2 minutes, people can judge you like that. So the preparedness and the practice are very important. First one, develop your message. First of all, any speech, the thing is, now I'm taking 1 hour of your time, which is very important. Maybe you should have, kind of watched a TV series, likewise, there are different purposes. So I'm taking that time from you, maybe by forcefully. The thing is, at the end, I should have a clear message to give to you. Otherwise, there is nothing to take for you when you are leaving this session. So before you're preparing for an academic presentation, even, you need to think of what is the message that I'm going to give. If you're doing your research presentation, we know that at the end, what we are looking at, your results and your outcome. So what is the solution you are giving to this research problem? So that is your take-home message. So you need to be very clear-cut about the message that you're going to deliver, right? So please prepare with a good message, and then, of course, the rest of the thing comes next. And know your audience, like I mentioned. Before going to anywhere, as Leos, you may be going to do projects, and there will be people, public relations people, who are going to communicate to those people. So please identify your audience before you go to those places. Before you go to an interview, try to do some kind of research on that organization and the panel that you're expecting to be there. If you're going for marketing department, obviously there will be people who are coming from marketing backgrounds, right? So you need to prepare for that. So to that audience, what I'm going to tell, or maybe, you're going to, let's say, finance kind of thing. So you need to know that people who are expertise in finance will be there. So you cannot teach them. Maybe you can give kind of conviction to them. And the next thing is planning and organizing your speech. So after thinking about the message that you want to deliver, after getting recognized or getting to know about your audience, then start writing your speech. Even, let's say you may be the best world champion speaker, public speaker in the world. Still, you need to have a good script for your speech. Do you think Dhananjay Silva is going everywhere and doing these speeches, motivational speeches, without preparation, without a script? No, not at all. As Toastmasters, what we always practice is, before doing a project, we don't do always the speeches like you imagine. We have so many projects to do. So whenever we are doing a project, the very first thing what we do is we write a sketch on that. We write a draft, and then we eventually develop that draft in the final version. So always we have a plan and we organize our speech. There is an opening, there is a body part, there is an ending. So these three we highlight, and all the facts are going to be included according to that organization. Next thing is rehearsing and refining your delivery. Delivery in the sense, now you write the speech, now you're going to deliver this. You're going to bang on it, because otherwise you have a good message, you have a very good script, and when it comes to delivery, my goodness, so boring. For the audience, they are sleeping. So is there any value in your speech? I don't think so. This is why the preparation is very important. During the preparation itself, even if you're going to do a research presentation, please write your script and practice it and do it once you go there, right? Because this preparation is very important, especially for the undergraduates. So that is about preparation and practice. And what are the delivery techniques? So what I told you that the refining of your delivery is important. So when you are doing the delivery, what are the things that you need to focus on? I'm sure there were a few people here when we were doing the project for Sabra University. So you learned about body language, vocal variety. I'm not sure if you remember those things, but still in your presentation subject kind of that you learn these things. So when I'm doing this delivery, if I just stand here and if I have just recited my facts, do you think it could have been at least this much of entertaining, or this much of interacting, or this much of audience attention grabbing of the audience? I don't think so. This is where, when you are doing the delivery as a public speaker, when you are speaking in front of a public or a group of people, you need to think of your delivery as well. The first thing is your body language, because the words speak less, but your body language speaks a lot. So what does it mean? The way you stand, the way you move, the way you use this, the space, even in a virtual platform. So just don't do your academic presentation by sitting on a chair and just looking at the Zoom background. That's not gonna work. It's so boring. And when you go to the stage also, if you are just looking at the presentation and saying something like this, looking at the presentation, saying something like this, because you're not moving, because you're so afraid that you cannot, control the slides. Don't think like that. Just move the space that you have been given. So the stage usage as a public speaker is very important. Now in here, in the virtual platform, I know it's a bit difficult, but I still try to move here and there, in the screen, so that at least it gets you distracted. Okay, where the hell this woman is moving. So I at least take few seconds of your attention, isn't it? So your body language is very important. Incorporating good body language to a speech is very important if you want to be a very good public speaker. Second thing, vocal variety. What do you mean by vocal variety? So we are not singers. Public speakers are not singers. Singers are another category of people. So don't misunderstand this. Having a vocal variety doesn't mean that you need to have a very soothing voice. If you feel like, oh my God, my voice is like mine agilala wage mata puluwan the public speaking karan, no, nothing like that. Anyone who can speak can improve vocal variety. So vocal variety in the sense how your voice is varying, right? So if I've been talking in the same tone from 8 o'clock, I think we started around 8 too. So if I had spoken in the same tone, in the same pitch, right, in the same volume, is it going to be kind of entertaining for you? I mean, I'm not here to entertain you, but will you be listening to me? I don't think so. Especially, this can be experienced in a physical environment. This is why most of the time you feel sleepy in your lectures, because lecturers have this problem. They, most of the time, they forget to apply this vocal variety. They just tell something in the same tone. As a lecturer, I do that. I have experienced that, but now I try to ignore it as much as possible, since I have learned the basics of public speaking. Most of the time, the audience fell asleep because the speaker's voice is very monotonous. There is no pitch, there is no up and downs, always the same tone, the body language, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, space and time, likewise. So definitely the audience is going to fell asleep if you are not using the vocal variety. So your voice should go up and down, and your volume should, increase and decrease. Your voice should showcase the emotions. If I'm happy, I should show it, right? If I'm sad, I should show that as well. So voice should be incorporated with the emotions when you are talking as a public speaker. If you want to give a very strong message to your members saying that we guys, come on, we have to do this. So can we tell like this? The president comes and say, guys, we have to do this. No, that's not going to emphasize for the members. If the president comes and say, guys, come on, we have to do this. This is very important for our club. This is very important that if we do this, it's going to benefit the society. So likewise, you need to, have this emphasis by using your voice. So as public speakers, have you seen good public speakers? It's like listening to kind of a very good song when they're speaking. Sometimes we don't feel like, okay, my God, this speaker has talked for 1.5 hours, but we have not felt it's like 1 minute for us, because that much they are very interacted to the audience. The next thing, eye contact. So why eye contact is very important. So eye contact is something that the audience used to measure your confidence. If you're not looking at your audience properly, now I try to look at the camera as much as possible. If you take in a physical environment, when you are doing academic presentation, if you are doing something in your club or whatever the thing, if you do not maintain the eye contact, right? So eye contact in the sense you have to maintain eye contact with all the people. So if your classroom is like that, let's say it's a square shape, so there can be sections. There are 3 lines, let's say, chairs. So you have to look at all the people. And maybe for 3 or 4 seconds, you have to look at one person specifically, just to show that, okay, I'm looking at you, just to maintain the eye contact. Because if you are looking up, down, and if you are just avoiding the other's eyes, that means you're not confident. So if you want to be a good, confident public speaker, your eye contact is the first benchmark. The next thing, gestures. Now, gestures are incorporated with the body language, of course. The way you are using your hands, maybe your legs even, maybe your head, right? Your shoulders, likewise. Now, if you had spoken like this for a long time, that's not going to work. So you have to always have open arms. If you are a good public speaker, you have to have open arms. If you have, hand scratch like this, we tell it that it is also a kind of a sign which shows that you are nervous, because you're like the gun. So that's not a good sign. Always try to have open arms, and try, do not do these kind of things like this. And there are certain fingers that you can use. So don't point out the audience. You can just do it 1 or 2 times. But if you continuously do like this, like this, like this, that's not good. So when you are using your gestures also, you have to be very careful. And the pace and the tone. So this is again with the vocal variety, the speed that you're speaking. So don't be so rushed like a rabbit, or don't be so slow like a tortoise. So you have to be in the average level. Maybe there are sometimes we have to speak a little bit fast. Maybe there are some few times, or there are few occasions that you have to talk slowly. This depends on the content and the way that you are speaking. So definitely you have to think about the pace and tone, the tone that you are using. Like I mentioned, if you want to emphasize something, your tone has to be really strong. You'd have to do this. Come on, likewise. And another thing is try to have the pauses in between. What do you mean by a pause? When we are speaking, if we continuously speak, the audience is going to be like, my goodness, will this woman stop talking? Give us a break, right? So this is why when we are speaking, we need to have strategic pauses. We speak and we stay silent for few seconds, maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds maximum. Why do we do that? Because we have to give the time for the audience to digest the things. This is what often happens with the politicians. They like speak in high volume. They just bang on the tables and say things continuously, and the people do not understand. I think that has been happening in this country for for the past few years, because people could not understand what they were talking because they didn't have any pauses. We could not understand what they were talking about, and we could not digest what they were talking about. So if you are a good public speaker, think of the pace, the pauses, and the tone of your speaking. The next thing. Now, this is very important if you want to become a good public speaker. Nervousness, anxiety are very common to each and everyone. Even for me, like I mentioned before starting this session, I had butterflies flying in my stomach. That happens each and every time. Even if I go to the class to take my lectures, before starting the lecture, I know that because before a lecture, we usually prepare, right? So still when I go and look at the students, I get some kind of, okay, where should I start? Where should I start? And then what I do is I just look at the students a little bit. I make myself comfortable. I just try to have a little chat with them. And eventually I dive into my topic. Because for any public speaker, even if he or she is a world champion, like I mentioned before, I'm sure even, the most renowned people in the world as good public speakers, they are having this nervousness and anxiety before they start a speech. That's very, very natural. As a human being, you should have the nervousness and the anxiety, because then only your dopamine. There's a hormone that affects on your good performance, which we call as dopamine. The dopamine comes if you even, when you have the nervousness and anxiety and when you act accordingly or react accordingly. So nervousness and anxiety is not something that everyone, it's something that everyone has. So don't worry about it. There are certain things that we can do to overcome these two things. One thing is you need to kind of analyze and get to know the things or the techniques that you can do to manage your nerves. Now, for example, to overcome my nervousness, what I do is I little bit like, just move a little bit. And I listen to a song before I do kind of a presentation or a session. And I try to calm myself like that. I'm not listening to, kind of rap music or reggae music or whatever thing, but very classical thing. That is how I manage my nerves. And the second thing is, so you also can identify what kind of technique is proper for me. You can just Google YouTube. So that is one thing that I mentioned. But there are certain ways that you can do, which have been psychologically proven as effective. Second thing is mindfulness and breathing exercises. Now, this is very serious. Sometimes you may be laughing. Okay, should we do meditating before starting a session? Of course, if you can do, just see how it can be effective. Before you do your research presentation, before you do your final, let's say, AGM presentation or whatever thing, if you could have just laid a little bit, let's say 2 to 3 minutes, and be mindful about your body, and then think about some, one thing. If you have focus for one thing, like we do in meditating, of course, your session is going to be fruitful. And breathing exercises. Now, this is something I usually do. I do breathing exercises before I start sessions. Excuse me. What do you mean by breathing exercises? I take deep breaths and hold a little, and I exhale slowly. So you may be laughing, right? Do people do this stuff actually? Of course, we do before doing a session, because this is how we overcome our nervousness. This is how we overcome our anxiety. Otherwise, we cannot come here and talk constantly for 1 hour, 2 hours time. Even before I'm doing a lecture, what I just do is I just sit on my chair before going in front of the students. I mean, in my staff room or wherever the place, and I just maybe look at the roof and just focus, be mindful, take a deep breath, and then of course maybe 2-3 times and go for my lecture. So these are very serious things that we practice as Toastmasters. We have been taught about these things. And the next thing is visualization and positive self-talk. Visualization in the sense, after doing the presentation, how it will be, what kind of feedback I will get. Will the people say, okay, I'm brilliant? You're visualizing from the first moment itself, because then it gives kind of a kick to you. Okay, people will tell like that, I'm going to, nail this. The lecturer is going to really like my presentation, so that I'm going to nail on this. I'm going to, eat a whole ice cream after this presentation, or I'm going to sleep for 6 hours straight after the presentation. So you are visualizing what kind of a benefit you are going to, kind of take after doing your presentation. You're visualizing. Or positive self-talk. Always tell yourself, you're a good speaker. You are a good talker, right? I can do this. I can do this. I can nail this. Always talk to yourself before you're going to a session, or if you're going to, before you're going to present something to the public. That is really convincing. Trust me, it works a lot, because when you talk to your own self, you know that your own self or you are with you. Because what happens when you go to the stage is like, goodness, there's no one beside me. When we are with friends, we are very confident, right? Okay, gahannavat bayna denne kinna. But on the stage, what happens is, yaluatne, amma taatne, kaurutne, I'm all alone. So this is what happens to social creatures like humans. So the thing is, when you talk to yourself, that is kind of, building a relationship with your own self, your own mind. So your mind knows, okay, I'm not alone, right? I can do this. I have the power. I have the strength. I am strong enough. So always do the self-talk. Now, you may be thinking the most, often question that the student has is, my English is not good. I'm not a good English speaker. Am I a good English speaker? Are you mad? No, not at all. I'm still learning my English, right? We are not native English speakers, so do not ever underestimate yourself just because of someone else's language. කාගවත් language එකක් නිසා තමන්ගේ ආත්ම විශ්වාසය නැති කරගන්න එපා. මේක කොච්චර වැරදුනත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. මේක අපේ language එක නෙමෙයි. සිංහලෙන් කරනකොට වරද්දනවා නම් අන්න එතන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. So when you do your speech in Sinhala or Tamil, let's say it's your native language, that is a problem. That is where you should be really ashamed of. But when you do a presentation in English, if you get wrong, doesn't matter. Talk to yourself, which is very important. So in conclusion, what I want to say is, if you want to become a good public speaker, the art of good public speaking, or to do a proper presentation or a public speech, is that first recap your key points, what you are going to talk about. Always have a sketch, always develop a script, right? Even before you come to your AGA, whatever the things you are going to talk about, you need to have a proper draft or a final version of your speech. Second thing, it's important to continuously practice for improvement. I started my career as a Toastmaster before 2 years. Have I stopped? Never. I don't think I will ever stop. Maybe with, if there will be some consequences, maybe I will take a short break, but I don't think I will stop. Even at home, I'll be practicing this because I'm so passionate about it. So this is what the exact thing that you need to also improve. So never ever think that, okay, I did my presentation. One time I practice, I go to the stage, I do it. No, not at all. Rehearse as much as possible. And after doing your academic presentation, let's say you did your final presentation, now you feel like, Hari, jeevithet ainam presentation karanne. Never think like that. Because once you do these things continuously, believe me, your personality is going to definitely improve. And the third thing is embrace opportunities for public speaking. Do not ever miss a chance if you get to talk in front of people. If your lecturer says, okay, come and do the group presentation, randomly selecting you. Are you going to be afraid? Okay, no, madam, please, do not do that. Go to the front and talk. If as an undergraduate, if you are given a chance to talk in front of people, just take it. If when you go to a new workplace and your boss says, okay, this person is from Sabra University, okay, let's hear from her. Undergraduates are you going to hide in front, inside your what do you call the bitragatta or your kata? No, don't ever do that. Okay, I will come, I will talk. Maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not relevant, right? But just try to focus on what's the purpose and just give it a chance. Take the opportunity. Whenever there is a possibility, wherever there is a chance or an opportunity, just take it, because everyone is not going to do it. If you do it, you're going to be special. And the thing is, when you take all the opportunities, you can eventually develop yourself as a good public speaker. Apart from all these things, I have some additional tips that I like to give you all if you really want to become a good public speaker. Start with a strong opening or to capture the audience attention and to establish your credibility. Now, can you remember how did I start my session? I said, okay, there are some few familiar faces so that I can convince Ari mama ඔයගොල්ලන් ගැන දන්නවා. මම කලිනුත් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. Likewise, I'm just making myself comfortable, and also I'm interacting you in a friendly way. And I said, good evening, Leos, right? So, just try to have a very attentive opening when you're starting a speech or a presentation. I'm not saying in your research presentation, you're going to say, good evening, lecturers, how you are doing? Definitely not. Choose your occasion, know your audience, and then, apply it correctly. Second thing, use storytelling to engage with your audience. I took my personal stories to convince these things, because why? People love stories. People love to hear the gossip. Then right? So because of that, if you want to become a good public speaker, always try to incorporate some personal stories so that people are getting connected with you. I told you the audience interaction is very important. So if you want to connect with the audience in a very good manner, personal stories or the stories are going to, affect you a lot. Could be personal stories, could be some other stories, but try to use them. Third one, use visual aids, slides, props, whatever the thing. Now I'm using a visual aid. I'm not sure if that is very compelling, but I think you already had a session on how to make effective visual aids. If there is a chance, always try to use them in a proper manner. Do not rely on the visual aid, but, just expose yourself in a way, just make or take or get the use of visual aid as kind of a side support. Do not rely on that 100%. The next thing is use humor appropriately. When we are speaking, people needs to be entertained. If you're going to be very serious throughout the time, even if you're addressing your club members, if you're going to be really serious, I know the topic can be really serious, but time to time, try to incorporate some humor, knowing the occasion properly, so that people will definitely kind of get connected to you. Next thing is practice active listening. To be a good speaker, first thing you need to do is you need to be a good listener. I know that today you all are very good listeners. You are very silent. There were no kind of cliches, technical errors or whatever thing, no shouting, no mic, mics on, whatever the thing. So that is good, because I can see you're very active listeners. I'm not sure if what you are doing. But if you want to become a good public speaker, the very first thing that you need to do is you have to be a good listener. If someone is giving feedback about the way you are talking, about your content, about your delivery, just take them and think about it. That's how you can be a proper listener. And listen to all these public speakers' speeches. Go to YouTube or go to there are podcasts and everything. If you go to YouTube, there are thousands of videos. Just listen to them. And eventually you can become good speakers. Finally, seek out opportunities to practice public speaking like Toastmasters. I'm not promoting Toastmasters or my club or whatever the thing. But the thing is, if you find a good platform to practice, that is definitely going to benefit you. Because in our day-to-day life, we know that, right? We never go in front of a mirror and practice public speaking. Don't say it's nonsense. Even if I say you to do that on a daily basis, I'm sure you are not going to do this. අපි මේ workout එකක්වත් හරියට කරන්නේ මිනිස්සු public speaking පුරුදු වේද. ඉතින් හොඳම දේ තමයි හොඳ platform එකක් හොයාගෙන practice වෙන එක. Maybe you have your Gavel club, or maybe you have Toastmasters clubs or whatever the thing. When you go to these environments, what happens is you see people are speaking, you see, what are you lacking, and you get a lot of feedback from other people, good speakers, what to improve. So when you have a proper platform, you are getting motivated to practice these things. So if you want to really become a good public speaker, I strongly recommend for you to find a good platform. Maybe a university, you can have something, right? Have kind of weekly meetings or whatever the thing. It doesn't have to be, but it's better to always have kind of expertise people as well to take evaluations. So like how, by doing all these things, you can definitely become good public speakers. So just to refresh you, public speaking is not a miracle. It's not something that only few people can do. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට තියෙන මතයක් තමයි public speaking කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒගොල්ලන්ට විතරයි. That's not my thing. That's a big lie. That's a very big misunderstanding. Anyone can become a good public speaker if they really practice and if they really try to or take an effort. So always remember, these things are not kind of have the 5 elements, like I mentioned: confidence, the conviction, clarity, control, likewise, all these things. And then think about what you can really do to improve your public speaking skills, the practice, preparation, and how to avoid your nervousness or the anxiety. There are so many techniques that you can use. And eventually, if you find a good platform and practice, you can definitely improve these things. So just to wrap up my session, this is a picture of my club at my installation ceremony. So to be honest, joining Toastmasters was a kind of turning point in my life. It totally changed my life. So I want all of you to change your life by becoming good public speakers. I'm not telling you to join with the Toastmasters because I'm sure financially it could be a problem, but think about it. There are so many opportunities that you can grab apart from Toastmasters. But trust me, if you are passionate or if you think of improving yourself as a good public speaker, that's definitely going to change your life. 180 degrees, you're going to change. I hope that at least one will try. And the person who is going to try this, please come to me and tell, was it true or not? So that is my final message that I want to give. As undergraduates, you're going to be the blood and the future of this country. And you are going to be so important to this country. So just don't think of, just running away from the country. I mean, if you have the purpose, you have to go, definitely. But always think that as the younger generation, there are a lot of things that you can do, not only for this country, but for whole world as well. As Leos, you have just started, doing that change or the difference to the world. So continue to do that. And to become good leaders or the people who are working good for the society, your communication skills are very important. Becoming a public speaker is very important. So with that message, I'm just letting you to think whether it is true or not. And if anyone tries this, and if anyone change your life by becoming a good public speaker, please come and talk to me. So thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that I could be back and see some familiar faces as well. And to conclude, I wish you all the very best. And I wish all of you can do the good for the society continuously. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. With that, I would like to ask a small question. If
Sorry,
you have enough
I forgot that. If you have questions, please shoot it.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to ask a question. Is that okay?
Yes,
ma'am,
please.
This is a question that normally everybody would have. I'm sure, like myself, that ma'am, like we are undergraduates and we already have a very tight schedule as of the university, the assignments. So joining a Toastmasters club or a public speaking club, is it very hard to manage, or will we be able to manage it easily between both?
Yes. Shall I take my personal life as an example? So as you know,
Sure,
now you're undergraduates, you may be having lectures, let's say until 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock at still, but every day we don't have that set schedule, right? So this happened to me as well. I was also wondering, can I do this? Can I manage myself? Will my husband divorce me, right? I had that question as well and I'm joining with a club and doing all these, crazy things, public speaking. Will I be able to manage things? Obviously you can. If you are passionate about anything, even if you're passionate about your academic things, that's easy to do. And trust me, public speaking is an addiction. When you do it, if you get addicted, it's very, very hard to overcome that. And that's a good addiction. So do not ever have a confusion or a misunderstanding or a doubt that can you manage this, because if I take Toastmasters as an example, this is a very free independent platform. We have meetings twice a month, and if you like, we can go and do projects likewise. It's not very strict. It's not like doing a degree or something. The thing is, you need to find your passion, and you need to see, is it actually going to affect me? And when you feel the taste of it, you cannot just kind of overcome that. And of course, this is not public speaking is not something that you have to do as a timetable. You can try it even when you are driving, even when you are commuting, when you are traveling from one place to the other. You can just listen to good public speakers and just try something when you're having a bath at least, right? So this is not something strict. This is a passion, I would say. This is a passion that you can improve. So you know what happens when you're becoming passionate, you can find time eventually. And for the undergraduates, definitely you can do this, because as Leos, I'm sure you are contributing your so much of time. Mandanna lecturers projects karani. I know that for a fact because I also have the experience. So if you can't find the time to do your projects as Leos, you can find at least 2 hours to do this, right? Yes, Afra, thank you for so much for your question. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. I hope this inspired, even though you didn't encourage people to join, I hope it inspired many of our colleagues and participants to join. So anybody else, if you have questions, you all can quickly either unmute and ask or put it in the chat box, because we're running out of time as well. Anybody?
I was 100% clear. Oh, no one listened to me at all. But thank you so much. I think they must be hungry after all these meetings and stuff.
Ma'am, it was an inspiring speech, ma'am. I think they got a lot out of what you have told so far.
Thank you so much.
With that, I think we are out of questions, or like we're good to go. And thank you, Ms. Yashodhara, again. So like we always know already, fear has two meanings. That is, you forget everything and run, or you face everything and rise. So just like ma'am said, the choice is yours, but then try to face everything and rise. It's up to you to decide which one you will be choosing. So we believe that today's session will surely help you to make your choice much easier. And with that, so no matter how hard it is, you have to let go of your fear and start from today. You can raise your voice and try to be the best person you can be. And like Madam said earlier, it's not just, there are specific types of people who can be public speakers. Anybody who can speak can be a public speaker. So anyway, we have reached the end of today's session with that notice. So it's time to be grateful for all of your souls for being with us here. And I would like to invite Leo Maneshi to deliver a word of thanks, and I request all the participants to stay with us until the end to capture this moment, to remember it as a memory. So it's over to you, Leo Maneshi.
Thank you, Leofra. Am I audible for you?
Yes, you are, Maneshi.
Okay, hello everyone. Very good evening. So it's a great pleasure for me to deliver the word of thanks on behalf of the Leo Club of Sabra University of Sri Lanka. So first of all, I would like to express our heartiest gratitude to our guest speaker, Ms. Yashodhara Hemachandra, for taking the time out of her busy schedule to share her insights with us. And as undergraduates, and also those who are about to enter to the competitive and busy fields, developing these kinds of skills will be a great opportunity to achieve our goals, because it helps us to connect with the others and improving our ability to speak in public, and also it improves our communication skills as well. So more importantly, effective public speaking can help with career advancement, as it indicates critical thinking ability and professionalism, confidence, and other qualities which are very valuable for the job market. So thank you again for giving us this great opportunity to learn how giving an understanding about the Toastmasters Club. That's it. And next, I would like to thank our staff advisor, lecturer, Ms. Yashodhara Hemachandra, for her continuous guidance for us. Then I would also like to thank our president, vice president, secretary, the board of directors, and as well as the members who worked hard to make this session a memorable success. Finally, I would like to thank all participants for joining us today. Once again, thank you all of your kind attention. Over to you, Leo.
Yes, thank you very much, Leo Maneshi. So before winding up this session, I request you all to switch on your cameras to take a group photograph. So at least we might remember it as a memory in days to come. Everyone? We'd like to see more faces, if possible. I think we're good to go, Yoshin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Ashin. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
See, I remember you all.
Okay, let's take. Guys, smile. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you can share the pictures with me as well. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Yes, with that, thank you all for joining and staying with us till this very moment. See you next time. Until then, have a great night. Goodbye.